I'm excited about the next. I'm excited about the next presentation. We're going to be talking about zakat. If you're not excited about hearing about zakat, wow, we have to take your pulse. This is exciting. I mean, like Allah Akbar on this, because you get to purify your life when you're giving zakat. This is just beautiful. So we're going to welcome back to the stage Brother Amjad. And one thing I did not share about his bio last time, but I'll share about it now. Brother Amjad is also the author of not-for-profit collaborations in diverse communities, challenges and opportunities in Muslim-led organizations, which uses the community collaboration initiatives as a framework for achieving collective impact. And we just heard social impact. Here's another thing. In order to really have social impact, you have to drive home ethics. You cannot even talk about social impact if you're not talking about being ethical. That's another massive differentiator that we have as Muslims. So welcome back to the stage our good brother Amjad, and he's going to come talk about zakat. I mean, get excited. This is a great subject matter right here.
I did not want this order, so I hope you guys are not tired of seeing me again and again. Two disclaimers. One, I made some updates to the presentation that I have on my laptop, and I was told I cannot make any updates. So this is a bit outdated, but I'll include a few key points on a symposium that took place last year. Dr. Mann was there, Sheikh Salah Sabi, and we met at Islamic Relief headquarters, and we talked about the contemporary zakah practices in the US. With that, I have two of my colleagues here, Muhammad Mafawaz and Dr. Rafiel Wasef. So I'm going to go over this presentation. I will talk about it. You're welcome to ask any questions, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer. So real quick, what I'm going to do is I am going to start with this outline. I am going to quickly talk about philanthropy in general, what is happening in the US landscape when it comes to philanthropy, because I'm coming from a school of philanthropy. This year, Giving USA, they published a report on philanthropy. It basically talks about how much, in general, people in the US give and to whom they give. And then based on that, I will talk to you about how much Muslims in the US they give based on the research that we did. And then following from there, we'll talk about zakah. We have a report that we published on Muslim giving in the US. We have a report that we published, zakah in the US, and how much Muslims give zakah in the US, and to what causes and to whom. And then finally, we're gonna talk about the contemporary zakah practices in the US. There is one thing that we hear from the Sharia side. There is Islamic knowledge about zakah, and we have heard about the 8 categories highlighted in the Quran. But then there is also knowledge and practice that has been shared by the practitioners who are administrating zakah within the US context, and also what the general Muslim population in the US they feel about zakah in general. Okay. So before I go to the Muslim data, I want to quickly talk about philanthropy in general. And as I mentioned, the Giving USA, they publish this report every year, and we can share those reports with you. And it has been going on for the last 40 years. According to the Giving USA report, in the US, in 2024, $592 billion were given in charitable causes in an effort to make this world a better place. This is giving by individuals. This is giving by foundations. This is giving through bequests, which is if you leave this dunya, you leave your assets, your will. And then there is giving by corporations. Oftentimes we hear about corporate social responsibility. Now, the other question is, where is this money going? Most of this, the $592 billion. This is an estimate that through the School of Philanthropy, through the Giving USA, through this research we came across, 24% of this overall giving, which is the $592 billion, 24% goes to religion. That includes churches, houses of worship, synagogues, mosques, and other causes as well. Human services comes right after religion, and then right after human services, there is education and foundation, and the list goes on. So I just wanted to set us up with what is the giving landscape when we talk about in the US, and then I will talk about what's happening in the Muslim giving landscape. So the last time the study was done in 2017 by Institute of Social Policy and Understanding, ISPU, it was done in 2017. This is the latest, the best estimate we have. And we can have a disagreement of how many number of Muslims there are in the US. But what we know through research and data is there are an estimated 3.45 million Muslims in the US. And what's interesting about that is 50% of them born in the US, 36% nationalized citizen, and 14% not citizen. So it's been 9 years. We are yet to hear about the next study that's been done, but that's the closest that we know, that how many Muslims there are in the US. Now, the other thing to note is we are one of the most ethnically diverse faith communities in the US. And we all know the majority is at 28%. Can someone tell me who that is? The Black or African American community. That is the majority. And then we have white and Arab, and then oftentimes there is an overlap on that. But Asian comprise a good population. We have a growing Hispanic population in the US. We have a growing Native American population in the US. So the point is, we are 1% of the total population, 3.45 million, but we are one of the most ethnically diverse population in the US. At the same time, we are one of the youngest faith communities in the US. We can talk about what generation that we are in, who were the first, where was the first wave came in, was in the 1800s, 1900s, but evidently, from a data point of view, we're one of the youngest faith communities in the US. And it's also a fact that we are one of the most poorest faith communities in the US. When we look at the household income or the assets the community has, these are some of the facts through the research from ISPU. Now, it's important to recognize that we are significantly more likely than general population, which considers people of other faith, people who don't align with any religion, to consider non-monetary action as philanthropy. So when we talk about philanthropy, it's not just about giving money, it's also about helping the needy. If you can give your time, your talent, your skills, your testimony, that still counts as philanthropy. Now, so now the question is, and I have a different slide here, and I can share those as well. The question is, there is $592 billion that's been given for charitable causes in the US, and that includes everyone in the US. Now the question is, how much do Muslims give? So we did a study, we called it Muslim Giving USA, and according to that study, we find out that we give, on average, in 1 year, $4.3 billion. And that goes to different causes. I will talk about those. And out of that $4.3 billion, $1.8 billion is zakah money. Now, this is a conservative estimate. This is based on a data that is nationally representative. We use SSRS, the same company used by CNN and other news outlets. It's credible. We had done these studies over multiple years, but the closest that we find on average, these are the numbers. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is when we talk about the motivations for giving, what motivates Muslims to give? The number one is, in the category is based on the data, is compassion. Muslims believe that they are agent of change. Religiosity is a big aspect of their giving. Majority of the giving is inspired by faith. They see a positive image of the nonprofit sector. That is the other reason that they give. And they believe that this is their civic responsibility to give and to find a solution to the problems that we see in the community, be it through zakat, waqf, sadaqah, and other categories. We talked about this. Now, when we talk about the overall giving in the US, which was the $4.3 billion, nearly 60% is given to faith-related causes. That includes masjids, Muslim-led nonprofits. 42% that goes to non-faith-related causes. That does not go to masjids. That does not go to any Muslim-led organization. That could have been gone to the United Way or solving the crisis in the local community, homelessness, and the list goes on. And part of the faith-based giving, which is 60%, the majority of that goes to houses of worship, international relief, domestic relief, 13% and 90%, and then we have civil rights at 8%. And one would assume that majority of our giving is around fighting Islamophobia and doing advocacy and all that, but that is just 8% right there. Majority of that is houses of worship and then domestic relief, and the international relief comes after that. And this is the 48%, which is the non-faith giving, and it goes to different causes, as you can tell, but relief is at the forefront. Now, just like, why did I talk about this data and all of that? There are some myths that, we consume as Muslims, but they're also out there. And the myth number one is Muslims are not very generous compared to their fellow Americans. Myth number two is, unlike other faith communities, Muslims only care about their own faith communities. Third myth, Muslims give more to their houses of worship compared to other faith communities. Muslims only give to Muslim-led causes. Muslims give most of their money outside the US. Muslims give most of their money to civil rights. And we have seen that it was just 7% of the total giving. So these are just some facts. Despite being one of the poorest faith communities, we are one of the most generous faith communities. If we compare our giving to our counterparts, being 1%, an average Muslim household gives more than a regular American household. Unlike other faith communities, we not only just care about faith, but we also care about other communities as well. And it is evident that we give less to causes within the faith than any other communities, if we compare with Jewish community, the Christian community, and the list goes on. The other myth that's being challenged here is houses of worship. They are third priority on the list of Muslim giving, not the first, the third priority. The other myth that we are not pluralistic in our giving, actually we are. I mentioned this slide before, the faith-based giving is 56%, nearly 60%. The non-faith-based is 44%. And Muslims gave 17% toward international relief, within the vast majority of their giving focused on the United States. So the domestic relief is actually higher than international relief. And last but not the least, the same slide comes after, like, we give most our giving goes to fighting Islamophobia, which is not as far as our research is concerned. Now, this is just the state of giving in the US when we look at the broader nonprofit sector, and then we talk about the Muslim nonprofit sector. So what is happening when we talk about zakah? I think that's the most important topic that we're here to address. So when we talk about understanding zakah in the US, we know the importance of zakah. It is one of the pillars of Islam. And in the Quran, Allah highlighted 8 categories of the Quran, who zakat can be given to, who zakat cannot be given to. And we have been debating about these issues for centuries. We are not the first one to talk about. There have been scholars, theologians, practitioners, historians. They have all talked about these issues in the past. So we did a report on understanding zakat practices in the US. And we wanted to focus on Muslim zakah giving patterns, perceptions, and sources of their guidance. And the key questions that we ask is, how is zakat understood and practiced in the US? Is zakat seen as a charity, philanthropy, or a tax? How do income, education, and ideology affect zakat behavior? And when do Muslims prefer to give zakah? The answer to that question is in Ramadan, but also they give in other months, which is Dhul-Hijjah and others. And what sources, they either the zakah has been given to, for example, what causes, and then from where they drive their understanding of zakah. So when we talk about zakah in the Muslim majority countries, in countries like Malaysia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, we know that zakat is collected and distributed by the government. There are challenges that include difficulty in verifying zakat payments, especially on non-apparent assets like cash. Indonesia uses both government and licensed private agencies for zakat collection. In Malaysia, zakat collection and distribution are handled by separate entities under the state Islamic Religious Council, and then some countries allow individual remittance of zakat. Informal giving remains a big and significant part of it. Now, when we talk about Muslim practices and perceptions in the United States, we know that in 2022, I mentioned through our report, we gave about $1.8 billion in zakah, and it went to different causes. Zakat is still interpreted in different ways, as philanthropy, as charity, or religious tax, but less people align with zakah being interpreted as a tax in the US. Most US Muslims, they view zakah as a form of philanthropy or charity. We give zakat through formal nonprofits, remittance to the government, and informal personal giving. That also remains one of the highest points. Top recipients of zakah in the US goes to international nonprofits, followed by governments and domestic nonprofits. There is the view that defines that these donations, they just not stick to the monetary value, but it also include volunteering and other aspects. So this methodology is just a quick overview of one of the reports that we did, but we also did a report in which we analyzed 4 years of data. And within that 4 years of data, we had a sample of 11,000 individuals. And the Muslim sample among those within that data was around 4,000. And then we looked at, in multiple years from 2021 through 2024, what is happening with zakah. And the data sources and the participants, we collected it through SSRS. It's a well-reputed organization. We did that in collaboration with Islamic Relief. They funded us to do that. So one of the fields when we tested it was in 2023, but we also did this research in 2021 and 2022. And just in 2023, the respondents were 1,162. Each year we had an average respondent size of 1,000, and it's been a nationally representative sample. some of the key findings. One, I talked about zakah is predominantly perceived as charity. How much time I have left? Okay, so quickly, I'm gonna go to some final thoughts. I think that's very important. So knowing what is zakah, there is a difference of opinion among scholars, practitioners, and theologians. We gathered together last year at Islamic Relief Headquarters, and we talked about zakat practices in the US. And primarily we talked about what are the challenges faced by organizations in the US with regards to zakah. And Dr. Mann was there, like I mentioned, Sheikh Salah Sabi was there. They were practitioners on ground here working, and we came to 4 important points. One is, the number one issue that we're fighting is the issue of recipiency. Sheikh Joe was also there, I just see you, Assalamu So who or what is eligible for zakat distribution? Authority, who decides how to collect and distribute zakah? Where does the Muslim American community stand between the authorities and the recipients? And how do we administer zakah, which is collecting zakah and then distributing zakah? We came to one final conclusion because it's really hard when you gather for one time and it's an ongoing debate. But I think one thing that we identify is there is zakah literacy problem in the US with regards to communities, practitioners and organizations. There is misuse of zakah money. There are issues of zakah collection, zakah distribution. But at the same time, our organizations who are saying that we are zakat eligible, they don't have proper zakat policies. And those who have, they are still working on that. So we need more organizations. There is the need to have zakat policies to clear, and then also share those zakat policies with organizations, with communities, so that you can bring about that trust. And also mention the scholars who are helping you write these zakat policies for your organizations. And last but not the least, I think there is the trust of the community. They need to be informed. And then we need more collaboration in this regards, how we can come up with a better model of understanding what zakah is, who it can be given to. Like, what are the 8 categories? Talk to us about what is mu'allafatu qulubahum, for example. And then there are, in practice, people are giving zakah to non-Muslim causes as well as Muslim causes. So I'm going to stop here. I know I'm over time, and happy to answer any questions. Sorry.